This episode of the Story Cottage is brought to you by our friends at the King's Ridge Elderberries, Indigo Sundries Soap Company, Lux Coffee, Skin Balm Apothecary, and our amazing supporters. Click the Support the Show link in the show notes and subscribe for only $5 a month to get every episode ad-free. And now, on with the show. Fairy tales, folklore, myths, and legends. Why do children need them? Why do nations and peoples create them? Who knows? Maybe some of them are real. Maybe some are merely imaginative. Is there a hidden wisdom worth finding in these tall tales? Proverbs 1:5-6 says, "Let the wise hear and increase in learning, and the one who understands obtain guidance, to understand a proverb and a saying, the words of the wise and their riddles." We're your hosts, Jerry and Amy Davidson. Welcome to the Story Cottage. Please step inside.
Upon a time, the kingdom of Phrygia lacked a king, and in much perplexity, the people sought help from an oracle. The answer was very definite.
"The first man to enter your city riding in a car shall be your king."
That day, there came slowly jogging into the city, in their heavy wooden-wheeled wain, the peasant Gordius and his wife and son, whose destination was the marketplace, and whose business was to sell the produce of their little farm and vineyard, fowls, a goat or two, and a couple of skins full of strong purple-red wine. An eager crowd awaited their entry, and a loud shout of welcome greeted them. And their eyes grew round, and their mouths fell open in amazement when they were hailed as King and Queen and Prince of Phrygia. The gods had indeed bestowed upon Gordius, the low-born peasant, a surprising gift, but he showed his gratitude by dedicating his wagon to the deity of the oracle and tying it up in its place with the wiliest knot that his simple wisdom knew, pulled as tight as his brawny arms and strong, rough hands could pull. Nor could anyone untie the famous Gordian knot, and therefore became, as the oracle promised, Lord of all Asia, until centuries had passed, and Alexander the Great came to Phrygia and sliced through the knot with his all-conquering sword. In time, Midas, the son of Gordius, came to inherit the throne and crown of Phrygia. Like many another not born and bred to the purple, his honors sat heavily upon him. From the day that his father's wain had entered the city amidst the acclamations of the people, he had learned the value of power, and therefore, from his boyhood onward, power, always more power, was what he coveted. Also, his peasant father had taught him that gold could buy power, and so Midas ever longed for more gold that could buy him a place in the world that no descendant of a long race of kings should be able to contest. And from Olympus, the gods looked down and smiled and vowed that Midas should have the chance of realizing his heart's desire. Therefore, one day when he and his court were sitting in the solemn state that Midas required, there rode into their midst, tipsily swaying on the back of a gentle, full-fed old gray donkey, ivy-crowned, jovial, and foolish, the satyr Silenus, guardian of the young god Bacchus. With all the deference due to the friend of a god, Midas treated this disreputable old pedagogue, and for 10 days and nights on end he feasted him royally. On the 11th day, Bacchus came in search of his preceptor, and in deep gratitude bade Midas demand of him what he would, because he had done Silenus honor when to dishonor him lay in his power. Not even for a moment did Midas ponder.
"I would have gold,"
he said hastily.
"much gold, I would have that touch by which all common and valueless things become golden treasures.
And Bacchus, knowing that here spoke the son of peasants, who many times had gone empty to bed after a day of toilful striving on the rocky uplands of Phrygia, looked a little sadly in the eager face of Midas, and answered,
Be it as thou wilt, thine shall be the golden touch.
Then Bacchus and Silenus went away, a rout of singing revelers at their heels, and Midas quickly put to proof the word of Bacchus. An olive tree grew near where he stood, and from it he picked a little twig decked with leaves of softest gray, and lo, it grew heavy as he held it, and glittered like a piece of his crown. He stooped to touch the green turf on which some fragrant violets grew, and turf grew into cloth of gold, and violets lost their fragrance and became hard, solid, golden things. He touched an apple whose cheek grew rosy in the sun, and at once it became like the golden fruit in the garden of Hesperides. The stone pillar of his palace, as he brushed past them on entering, blazed like a sunset sky. The gods had not deceived him. Midas had the golden touch. Joyously he strode into the palace and commanded a feast to be prepared, a feast worthy of an occasion so magnificent. But when Midas, with the healthy appetite of the peasant born, would have eaten largely of the savory food that his cooks prepared, he found that his teeth only touched roast goat. To turn it into a slab of gold, that garlic lost its flavor and became gritty as he chewed, that rice turned into golden grains, and curdled milk became a dower fit for a princess, entirely unnegotiable for the digestion of man. Baffled and miserable, Midas seized his cup of wine, but the red wine had become one with the golden vessel that held it. Nor could he quench his thirst, for even the limpid water from the fountain was melted gold when it touched his dry lips. Only for a very few days was Midas able to bear the affliction of his wealth. There was nothing now for him to live for. He could buy the whole earth if he pleased, but even children shrank in terror from his touch, and hungry and thirsty and sick at heart he wearily dragged along his weighty robes of gold. Gold was power, he knew well. Yet of what worth was gold while he starved? Gold could not buy him life and health and happiness. In despair, at length he cried to the god who had given him the gift that he hated.
Save me, O Bacchus!
He said,
A witless one am I, and the folly of my desire has been my undoing. Take away from me the accursed golden touch, and faithfully and well shall I serve thee forever.
Then Bacchus, very pitiful for him, told Midas to go to Sardis, the chief city of his worshippers, and to trace to its source the river upon which it was built. And in that pool, when he found it, he was to plunge his head, and so he would, forevermore, be freed from the golden touch. It was a long journey that Midas then took, and a weary and a starving man was he when at length he reached the spring where the river Pactolus had its source. He crawled forward and timidly plunged in his head and shoulders. Almost he expected to feel the harsh grit of golden water, but instead there was the joy he had known as a peasant boy when he laved his face and drank at a cool spring when his day's toil was ended. And when he raised his face from the pool, he knew that his hateful power had passed from him. But under the water he saw grains of gold glittering in the sand, and from that time forth the river Pactolus was noted for its gold. One lesson the peasant king had learnt by paying and suffering for a mistake, but there was yet more suffering in store for the tragic comedian. My darling husband, your beard hath become as soft as a snowdrift, and thy scent is that of a king before a grand feast. Tell me, how is this so?
Honey, why are you talking like that?
Because I am enamored with thy scent. I must know, how can these things be?
I just started using Indigo Sundry's soap. They've been a Christian family business for over 20 years who use their own proprietary recipes to make actually clean soaps, without any of the nasty stuff big soap companies use like parabens, phthalates, and preservatives. They even have essential oil only, clay, and unscented soap options, and tons of great bundles.
Oh my lord, telleth me now how mayeth we getteth more.
Honey, please stop. Just go to indigosundrysoap.com and use code STORY for 10% off.
I shall make haste to do so, and all my ladies in waiting must spread the word. For if all the wives of the world were as enthralled with their husband's scent as I, we should have peace in the land.
Sure, baby. Maybe you should stop using the bad soaps. They're making you crazy.
Ladies, have you grown tired of reading through the ingredients on your skincare products only to buy something that doesn't really work? Let's be real, there aren't a lot of great options for skin and body care out there. Here's the solution. Our great friends at Skin Balm Apothecary have literally everything you need. Handcrafted in the US by a mom and educated herbalist, her premium products are made for all ages and skin types and are safe for children, pregnant women, and nursing mothers, with no toxic or synthetic ingredients, no chemicals, and no fillers. I use her Awake Coffee Serum and Firming Serum every single day, and the results are immediate and absolutely incredible. My face has never been brighter or my skin clearer in my life. And she has products for hair, face, lips, and body, such as deodorant, sunscreen, body oil, and even baby balm and essential oils. Go to skinbalmapothecary.com and use code StoryCottage15 for 15% off your first order. Skin Balm Apothecary, rooted in nature, crafted with intention. He had now no wish for golden riches, nor even for power. He wished to lead the simple life and to listen to the pipings of Pan along with the goat herds on the mountains or the wild creatures in the woods. Thus it befell that he was present one day at a contest between Pan and Apollo himself. It was a day of merrymaking for nymphs and fauns and dryads, and all those who lived in the lonely solitudes of Phrygia came to listen to the music of the god who ruled them. For as Pan sat in the shade of a forest one night and piped on his reeds until the very shadows danced, and the water of the stream by which he sat leapt high over the mossy stones it passed, and laughed aloud in its glee, the god had so gloried in his own power that he cried,
Who speaks of Apollo and his lyre? Some of the gods may be well pleased with his music, and mayhaps a bloodless man or two. But my music strikes to the heart of the earth itself. It stirs with rapture the very sap of the trees, and awakes to life and joy the innermost soul of all things mortal.
Apollo heard his boast and heard it angrily.
O thou whose soul is the soul of the untilled ground,
He said,
wouldst thou place thy music, that is like the wind in the reeds, beside my music, which is the music of the spheres?
And Pan, splashing with his goat's feet amongst the water lilies of the stream on the bank of which he sat, laughed loudly and cried,
Yes, would I, Apollo? Willingly would I play thee a match. Thou on thy golden lyre, I on my reeds from the river.
Thus did it come to pass that Apollo and Pan matched against each other their music, and King Midas was one of the judges. First of all, Pan took his fragile reeds, and as he played, the leaves on the trees shivered, and the sleeping lilies raised their heads, and the birds ceased their song to listen, and then flew straight to their mates. And all the beauty of the world grew more beautiful, and all its terror grew yet more grim, and still Pan piped on, and laughed to see the nymphs and the fauns first dance in joyousness and then tremble in fear, and the buds to blossom and the stags to bellow in their lordship of the hills. When he ceased, it was as though a tensely drawn string had broken, and all the earth lay breathless and mute. And Pan turned proudly to the golden-haired god who had listened as he had spoken through the hearts of reeds to the hearts of men.
Canst thou, then, make music like unto my music, Apollo?
He said. Then Apollo, his purple robes barely hiding the perfection of his limbs, a wreath of laurel crowning his yellow curls, looked down at Pan from his godlike height and smiled in silence. For a moment his hand silently played over the golden strings of his lyre, and then his fingertips gently touched them. And every creature there who had a soul felt that that soul had wings, and the wings sped them straight to Olympus. Far away from all earthbound creatures they flew and dwelt in magnificent serenity amongst the immortals. No longer was there strife or any dispeace. No more was there fierce war soaring between the actual and the unknown. The green fields and thick woods had faded into nothingness, and their creatures, and their fair nymphs and dryads, and the wild fawns and centaurs longed and fought no more, and man had ceased to desire the impossible. Throbbing nature and passionately desiring life faded into dust before the melody that Apollo called forth, and when his strings had ceased to quiver, and only the faintly remembered echo of his music remained, it was as though the earth had passed away and all things had become new. For the space of many seconds, all was silence. Then, in low voice, Apollo asked,
Ye who listen, who is the victor?
And sea and earth and sky and all the creatures of earth and sky and of the deep replied as one,
The victory is thine, divine Apollo.
Yet there was one dissentient voice. Midas, sorely puzzled, utterly ununderstanding, was relieved when the music of Apollo ceased.
If only Pan would play again.
He murmured to himself.
I wish to live, and Pan's music gives me life. I love the woolly vine buds, and the fragrant pine leaves, and the scent of the violets in the spring. The smell of the fresh plowed earth is dear to me. The breath of the kine that have grazed in the meadows of wild parsley and of asphodel. I want to drink red wine, and to eat, and love, and fight, and work, and be joyous and sad, fierce and strong, and very weary, and to sleep the dead sleep of men who live only as weak mortals do.
Therefore he raised his voice and called very loud,
Pan's music is sweeter and truer and greater than the music of Apollo. Pan is the victor, and I, King Midas, give him the victor's crown.
With scorn ineffable, the sun god turned upon Midas, his peasant's face transfigured by his proud decision. For a little he gazed at him in silence, and his look might have turned a sunbeam to an icicle. Then he spoke.
The ears of a donkey have heard my music.
He said.
Henceforth shall Midas have donkey's ears.
And when Midas, in terror, clapped his hands to his crisp black hair, he found growing far beyond it the long pointed ears of a donkey. Perhaps what hurt him most as he fled away was the shout of merriment that came from Pan. And fauns and nymphs and satyrs echoed that shout most joyously. Willingly would he have hidden in the woods, but there he found no hiding place. The trees and shrubs, flowering things seemed to shake in cruel mockery. Back to his court he went and sent for the court hairdresser that he might bribe him to devise a covering for these long, peaked, hairy symbols of his folly. Gladly the hairdresser accepted many and many oboli, many and many golden gifts, and all Phrygia wondered, while it copied the strange headdress of the king. But although much gold had bought his silence, the court barber was unquiet of heart. All day and all through the night he was tormented by his weighty secret. And then, at length, silence was to him a torture too great to be borne. He sought a lonely place, there dug a deep hole, and kneeling by it, softly whispered to the deep earth,
King Midas has donkey's ears.
Greatly relieved, he hastened home and was well content until, on the spot where his secret lay buried, rushes grew up, and when the winds blew through them, the rushes whispered for all those who passed by to hear,
King Midas has donkey's ears.
Those who listen very carefully to what the green rushes in marshy places whisper as the wind passes through them may hear the same thing to this day, and those who hear the whisper of the rushes may, perhaps, give a pitying thought to Midas, the tragic comedian of mythology.
Hey, honey, why are the kids running around in the backyard talking about building burrows?
Oh, I gave them a little bit of coffee.
What?
It's okay, dear. It's Lux coffee. Post tenebris lux. After darkness, light. The kids were being so disobedient, so I gave them some coffee called the Alfred option.
Oh, that's where they got the burrow thing. But wait, you're giving the kids Artisan roast coffee?
Only the best for my little angels. Lux defies convenience in favor of quality, single origin roasting. Here's a cup of brutal American for you, my knight in shining armor.
Wow, this coffee is incredible. How do we get more?
By going to luxcoffee.co and use code CHRISTISKING for 15% off.
Thanks, honey. I think I'm gonna go join the kids.
For Christ and his bride, post tenebris lux.
Tired of evil fairies using cold and flu season to turn you and your children into ogres every year? Yeah, me too. This cold and flu season, fortify your defenses naturally with the King's Ridge elderberry syrup and elderberry products. They grow the freshest elderberries on their Indiana farm, hand-pick and cold-press them into the tastiest syrup around. And they are packed with antioxidants and vitamins to boost your immune system. Defend the castle of your family's health. Use code STORY10 for 10% off your first order at tkrfarm.com. The King's Ridge elderberry syrup. Taste the difference, help push back the curse. That's tkrfarm.com and use code STORY10 for 10% off your first order. Welcome back to the Story Cottage. I wish I had a dad joke for this episode because that'd be a nice touch. Anyway, before we get into the rich lessons of this story, please smash that follow button and leave us a 5-star review, and maybe drop us a comment about how much you liked the story. Every new review and follower is just music to our ears.
But seriously, if you like our show, consider becoming a paid subscriber so we can keep doing this and expand our scope of storytelling as we grow. We have high hopes for where this show will go, but we can't do it without your support. If you want to help us grow, click the Support the Show link in the show notes or go to thestorycottage.buzzsprout.com and subscribe. We only ask $5 a month, and you not only get the show ad-free that way, but you also get all the past episodes and each new episode as an MP3 to download and share with your kids however you want.
All right, let's jump in. First question, what do the characters in this story value most? Well, King Midas values wealth and power. His peasant upbringing did not suit him to the experience and wisdom needed to be a good king. Once granted his request to Silenus for gold, he becomes rapidly wealthy, but food loses its literal flavor when he cannot nourish his own body with even water, and all life loses its sweetness.
The gods value their own pride and notoriety among themselves and man. Pan's and Apollo's musical duel is not a friendly one. They are so wrapped up in their own pride that they shame themselves by subjecting the outcome of the duel to mortal men. This is a theme you will see in much of mythology. When the gods competed and played games, not only did they show themselves to be pitiless, arrogant, and selfish beings, but mankind always lost in the end.
All right, second question. What lessons can we learn from this story? King Midas is the pagan reversal of King Solomon in a way. God asked Solomon what he wanted, and he asked for wisdom. Midas asked for wealth. Solomon received wealth as a benefit for his wise request. Midas received misery as a consequence of his unthoughtful and greedy request. Greed begets misery, but asking God for wisdom and faith begets his blessing. Furthermore, there are striking similarities between Midas and Solomon. Midas's father was an unworthy peasant who was called to kingship by a prophet of their people. Solomon's father was an unworthy shepherd who was called to kingship by the prophet Samuel. All throughout the books of Kings, there is a theme of fathers, sons, and generational consequences of the practices of each. Solomon knew to ask for wisdom because his father David taught him well how to be king. Midas only thought to ask for gold because his father, Gordius, never asked to be more than a peasant. It is a father's duty to ensure his children fear God, know his word, know how to live it out practically, and are equipped for their tasks in this world.
Finally, it's important to learn from this story, as with all mythology, that whatever god you serve will make you like that god. The gods in this story are self-centered and full of pride, making them petty and vindictive, as when Apollo gives Midas donkey ears for only having given an honest answer. All false gods make big promises, but they will bring you and themselves to shame. Only the true and living God of the Bible has ever shown that he keeps his promises, and that every one of his promises are for our every good. And as with Abraham, when he almost killed Isaac on the altar, God rewards faithful obedience for generations. Midas and the gods brought shame on themselves for their pride and greed. For his faith and obedience, God made Abraham the father of many nations and blessed all of mankind through him. So to all the parents out there, make sure you spend time with God with your children, not just by yourself. We must worship God together as families at home, or else we'll have little to no godly impact on our generations.
All right. Thank you all again for joining us. See you next time.
Toodaloo.